secretly cheating on his wife and a plan to punish her. Not all stories that begin with the words "once upon a time" have a happy ending. The characters don't necessarily live happily ever after as in this story. It all started with my wife trying to tell me a fairy tale, but unfortunately for her, or for me, depending on which way you look at it, I knew what kind of game she was going to play. A long time ago, a wedding was being planned. Elise and I had grown up together, and it had always been assumed, at least by our mothers, that we would get married when we were old enough. Our mothers had been best friends since elementary school. They went to college together, were in the same sorority, and even 30 years after graduation were very close. My mom got married first, and Elise's mom was her maid of honor. And then my mom served the same function for Elise's mom. When I was born, Eliza's mom became my godmother. And when Eliza was born, my mom became her godmother. The day after Eliza was born, our moms started planning our wedding. Families went on vacations together, celebrated vacations together, and for all practical purposes, we could be one big family. Being young, Eliza and I had no idea what our mothers had planned for us. We only knew we were close. It wasn't until we reached the age where boys start to be interested in girls and girls in boys that we started to guess what our mom's plans were. If I became interested in a girl, my mom would find a way to keep us apart. If Elise was interested in a boy, her mom would quickly find a way to end it. Eliza and I always went to school dances together. She was my date to the prom, and I was her date to mine. The turning point came when I graduated high school and went to college. Elise had another year of school left, so effectively we were separated and I was no longer where my mother could try to control my life, although Elise was still where her mother could micromanage her life. Against my mother's wishes, I decided to go to college. She wanted me to live at home and attend classes, but I wanted to live in a dorm, join a fraternity, and do all the other things young college students do. My mom tried to pressure me, but I was in college on a scholarship, so she had no financial leverage. Away from home and her influence, I found girls, and for the first time I was able to go out and do something with a girl who wasn't Eliza. I went out a lot and had a great time. I lost my cherry during a frat party and even dated a girl who was a punching board that night. We were together for almost 2 months before we each went to more hotspots. At the party, I met the wife of one of the grad students, who was a teaching assistant, and while I was never sure who seduced who, she taught me how to have sex, and then was kind enough to spread the word that I not only did it, but was good at it. After that, I became very popular, and no weekend went by without a date, which usually ended up in my bed or the girl's bed. Life was good, and then Eliza graduated high school and went to college. At first, it was just a matter of showing Eliza around the neighborhood and introducing her to some people. She was living at home, and honestly, I didn't expect to see much of her. I thought she would take advantage of the freedom and start dating guys like I did, but that didn't happen. She just got attached to me. Well, maybe not attached, but she was never far away. For the first month or so, she just watched me. And then, after I spent the weekend with a red-headed hottie, Elise said, "What do you see in her? She has the IQ of a grape." From then on, she started saying, "Why are you wasting your time on her? She's a tramp," or, "I know you have better taste than to waste your time on that pig." After about a month of this kind of communication, I finally said, "Eliza, instead of picking on the women I date, why don't you find some guys and make your own acquaintances?" "I'm not interested in other guys." "Why not? Are you of a different orientation or something?" To this, I got a very indignant, "Of course not." "So what's the problem?" "You." "Yeah? How can I be the problem?" "You've always been the one for me. I don't want anyone else, I want you." To shorten the story a bit, the mothers ended up having the wedding they had been planning since the day Eliza was born. 6 years passed, and here I was coming home from work early. I had an appointment close to home, so I decided to go home and not go back to work. It was Friday, and I thought I could start the weekend off right. As I entered the house, I heard the shower running and headed for the stairs and then stopped when I noticed something. There was a shoe on the bottom step. As I walked up the stairs, I found another shoe on the top step, and 2 steps away, I saw a bra on the floor. The skirt and thong were on the floor right in front of the bedroom door, but the main thing that caught my eye in the bedroom was the stripped bed, the box of Trojans on the bedside table, and 3 used contraceptives on the floor next to the bed. My first impulse was to storm into the bathroom, drag Elise out of the shower, drag her into the bedroom, point to the evidence, and call her a cheater. After that, I'd drag her downstairs and throw her out of the house with her bare ass. But even as I took steps toward the bathroom, a little voice in my head urged me to back off, to find out more. I wasn't going to find out everything I wanted from Elise, because I didn't trust her now. She had lied to me, so it was obvious that she was going to lie to me as well. I quickly and quietly walked out of the house and found a payphone. The yellow pages gave me the number of a private investigator, and I called him. He was able to meet me that same day, and I quickly drove to his office and told him the whole story. I agreed to his fee, handed him the keys to my house, and headed back home, arriving there at the usual time. All traces of Elise's afternoon had disappeared, and my freshly washed wife met me at the door with a kiss. I know it was perverse of me, but I was curious how Eliza would feel after having sex with someone else. I picked her up in my arms and, carrying her into the bedroom, said, "Tonight I want dessert first. Dinner can wait." Once in the bedroom, I undressed and then started on Eliza. For some reason, she didn't seem as enthusiastic as usual, and then I plopped her on the bed and had sex with her. All the while, I kept my eyes on her face, and I thought I saw a tinge of fear. A fear like, will he notice? And then a tinge of, does he suspect something? The latter was probably due to a significant change in our routine. She did feel different, but I couldn't figure out why. What I did realize was what a sick husband I was. The sight of the bedroom, the scattered clothes, the used contraceptives, the tattered bed made my imagination run wild. What if instead of one guy doing it 3 times, 3 guys did it once? A whole list of what-ifs ran through my head and turned me on to the point where I finished the job much faster than usual. On Saturday, I took Elise out to dinner and a show, and while we were gone, a private investigator used the key I gave him to break into our house and install surveillance equipment. That night and Sunday, I chased Elise like a hungry man chases food, and the images that arose in my mind made my body horny. I kept remembering that tattered bed and seeing Elise on that tattered bed with 8 or 9 guys standing around waiting their turn, and it just made me hot. I think Elise was glad I went to work on Monday. That week, I had sex with Elise every night when I got home from work, mostly to see if I could find any evidence that someone else had already been with her. Friday afternoon, I was in the detective's office getting his report. His name is Rod Mallory. He's an unemployed airplane mechanic. He comes in every day around noon and is there until about 3:30. If he followed his regular schedule, he would probably be there right now. I need you to get your wife out of the house tomorrow so I can pick up my equipment, and around the middle of next week I can give you my final report. As I rode the elevator down from his 7th-floor office, I noticed that I was no longer as anxious to get home as I had been on Monday. It was as if, by calling out the name of the man who was my wife's lover, I had turned off the eroticism that had been raging in my head since the day I learned that Elise was an unfaithful cheater. I don't know. Maybe it was the fact that all week I had seconds, albeit sloppy ones, and couldn't say so, that turned the switch off. Whatever the reason, the fire went out. When I got home, Eliza was waiting for me, expecting me to drag her into the bedroom, but all I did was kiss her on the cheek and ask her what she was having for dinner. Saturday, I took her out to dinner and a show. On Sunday, we made love, but only because Eliza was the initiator, and from then on, we never had sex unless Eliza insisted. I never said no, but I never sought her out again either. On Wednesday, I received the full report with audio and video from the detective, and went home to contemplate the future. Reviewing the videotapes and audio recordings of phone conversations showed me that this Rod had been having sex with my wife for almost 6 months. I had enough material to file for divorce, but something was missing. I pondered it for a day or two, and then I finally figured it out. Just taking everything I had to a lawyer would have ended the marriage with a bang, and I wanted to leave with a bang. I got on the internet and started looking for information. Over the next 2 days, I gathered everything I needed, and then every time Eliza left the house to go shopping or to her mother's house, I worked on my project. It took 3 weeks, but when I was done, the house was wired for sound and video. I had a recorder on my phone, one in the living room and one in the bedroom. There were 2 nanny cams in the bedroom that fed directly to the dual VCRs in my home office, and 1 nanny cam in the living room that fed a 3rd VCR. All cameras were either voice-activated or motion-sensitive. The result was mixed. I got more footage of Eliza vacuuming floors, dusting, washing windows, and doing chores around the house than I got footage of her and her lover, and these videos were either poor or outstanding, depending on the light level in the room at the time the footage was taken. The living room got better video because it was south-facing, but they didn't do much in the living room. The bedroom windows faced the north side, and if the blinds were drawn, I didn't get much use. I got more than enough to take to a divorce lawyer, but I had just as much from a private investigator. Considering how much money I had spent on equipment, I was hoping for better, much better. The audio tapes, on the other hand, turned out to be a goldmine. I found out that Rod had been pressuring Elise to leave me and marry him. Elise kept putting it off, and one day, Rod told her she had to decide what to do next. You either love me or you don't. You either want to be with me or you don't. But you have to make up your mind because I'm tired of sneaking out with you. I'm tired of a couple hours a day. I need nights and weekends and holidays, the whole 9 yards. What to do? I found Elise's answer very interesting. You know I want you, baby, or you wouldn't be here. But I want my husband too. I love him, and I don't want to leave him, but I want you too. Well, we're at a crossroads, baby. Obviously, you can't have both of us, especially since I'm tired of dragging you around. You could share me with him if he knew about us and agreed. And how are you going to work this little miracle? Let me think about it, love. Oh, look at the time. It's time for you to go. That was on a Friday. The following Monday, Rod brought it up again, and Eliza said she had a plan. Nah, I'm going to get him to let me have sex with another man. Ha! I'm sure he'll jump at the chance to do that. Maybe he won't rush into it, but there's a chance he'll say yes. You can't be serious. What kind of man would agree to such a thing? A man who loves me and is sure I love him. No, baby. I don't see it. Look, in college he was an alpha male. He had sex with 20 or 30 different girls, but I got into our marriage bed with no boyfriends. I'll start pushing him to let me try another man. I'll tell him I'm curious to find out what I missed and ask if he'll let me satisfy my curiosity. I will keep working on him until he gives up and lets me do it. You will be the second man and we will figure it out from there. Just be patient with me, baby. Give me some time to pull it off, okay? On Tuesday, he asked her again how she was going to do it. I'm going to take his eyes out, and when he's exhausted and stops thinking, I'm going to pounce on him. I still don't understand why you need the 2 of us together. You don't want to know. No, I do. Okay, you asked for it. If you make me choose between the 2 of you, I'll choose my husband. I love him, and I don't want to think about living without him. He's everything a girl could want in a man, and if he had your dignity, he'd be 100% perfect. Is that all I am to you? No, silly, I like you a lot, but I'll be honest. If it wasn't for your body, you wouldn't be here. Now, are you going to make love to me or sulk? Warned in advance, I was ready for Elise. We had just spent a grueling night having sex, and Elise pressed herself against me. Honey, can I ask you a weird question so you don't get mad at me? Sure. I guess so. Now think about this. Don't just jump up and automatically shout no. Do you love and trust me enough to let me satisfy your curiosity? I don't know, Eliza. What are you fishing for? Please don't get me wrong, baby. I love you to death. I really do. But I always thought that by staying faithful until marriage, I missed my chance. What are you getting at, Eliza? You're the only one I've ever had, baby. And I've always been curious what the other one would be like. Let me get this straight. You want to sleep with another man, and you want me to agree and say it's okay. Yes. Is that your way of telling me you don't think I'm good in bed? Oh, God, no, baby, don't think that. Didn't the night we just had prove that it wasn't? No, it's just curiosity on my part. I'm not going to leave you for someone else. You had a lot of girlfriends before we got married, so you've seen all the differences between women, but you're the only man I've ever had intimacy with. I just wish I had your permission to satisfy my curiosity. Have you already chosen a lover? Maybe one of my many friends you like? No, honey, I don't want it to be anyone we know. If you agree, I thought we could go to Denver, visit a cocktail bar, and see if I can find someone I like enough to let him get lucky. No commitment? You'll get your lover and then we'll go home and forget about it? Yes, baby. Just enough to satisfy my curiosity. When do you want to do it? Will you let me? Can I do it? Why not? It's not like you're running around behind my back. Sure, honey, go for it. How about Friday night? Friday night, when I got home from work, Eliza was already dressed and ready to go out. She looked attractive in a short skirt and high heels. You shouldn't have a problem with sex in that outfit. I hope not. It would be a major blow to my ego if I were to get off. As we drove toward Denver, I asked her where she wanted to go, and she said she didn't know exactly. Just drive around town, baby. And when I see a place I think I'll like, I'll tell you. When we got to Denver, I drove around the neighborhood, purposely avoiding the saloon that the records told me Elsie and Rod had picked out. I watched Alice get more and more nervous as we drove in circles. She desperately wanted things to look spontaneous for me, but I wasn't giving in. I'd drive in the direction I wanted to go, and when I was a couple blocks away, I'd turn right or left and go the other way. Finally, I got tired of fiddling with it and headed toward the place. There, she said, pointing to the dinos. Why here? There's a motel across the street. When I do it, I don't want it to be quick sex in the back seat. I pulled into Dino's parking lot, and after parking, I asked, Are you sure you want to do this? Yes, honey, I'm sure. I want to find out, and I may never get up the courage to do it again. Have you thought this through? What happens if you decide you like it and want to continue? How will it affect us? What if he turns out to be a better lover than me? Don't be silly, baby. I love you and you know I do. I will never leave you for someone else, and you know it. Okay, then how are we going to do this? We'll go inside, get a table, I'll find someone I like and we'll see what happens. What do you mean we'll see what happens? I don't know, baby. I've never done anything like this before. I think we'll play it by ear, and if I find a guy I like and he's interested in me and doesn't mind you watching, we can go across the street to the motel and see what happens. What do you mean you don't mind me watching? I'm not going to do that. You have to, baby. It's the only way I can do it. You have to be a part of it. Any other way would look like cheating on you. I don't think I can do it, Eliza. Of course you can, baby. You can do it for me. I know you can. I don't know, Eliza. I guess we'll just have to wait and see. As we walked through the door, I noticed Rod sitting at the end of the bar. We found a table, I ordered drinks, and then Eliza and I did a couple dances together. Eliza got up to go to the restroom, and on her way back to her table, a guy stopped her and asked her to dance. He then walked her to his table and introduced her to two of his friends, and then all three of them danced with her. When she got back to her table, she giggled and said, I have at least 3 to choose from. I danced with her 2 more times, and then it was my turn to go to the restroom. When I got back to the table, Rod was standing there talking to Elise. As I approached the table, Elise stood up and said, "Watch my purse, honey. This nice young man has asked me to dance." I smiled and said, "Keep it clean," and Eliza threw me a cheerful look as Rod led her away. It was what I'd been waiting for. I picked up Elisa's purse and pulled out all her cash and credit cards and put the purse back on the table. I pulled a videotape out of my pocket and placed it on top of her purse. It was a copy of several of her meetings with Rod, and I tied a pretty red ribbon with a bow on it. Putting the card on top, I got up and walked out. When they returned to the table and opened the card, they saw that it read, "Just something for your enjoyment as you and Rod begin your new life together. P.S. Don't call me. It won't do you any good." The end. Subscribe to my channel. Thank you.